According to niche.com, Holden, Massachusetts is one of the best places to live in the entirety of Massachusetts. This video, we're going to dive into 3 pros and 3 cons of living in Holden, Massachusetts, according to residents that currently live there or residents that lived there at one point in time. So we're going to start off with the pros, and right after we'll get into the cons. Simple enough? Okay. So the first pro is easy access and it's convenient. You're right next to Worcester. That's the selling point for many people that move to Holden. So you have Worcester, but Holden also has a lot of the essentials in town itself. They have grocery stores, they have the eye doctors, the dentists, the restaurants, all in Holden itself. So you don't have to go into Worcester for those things. You can if you would like, but you don't have to. There's also easy highway access. You're close to 190, you're close to 395, and just being in that vicinity is a huge selling point for many people that end up moving to Holden, or people that have lived in Holden that don't want to leave because of the easy access. I guess not only to Worcester, but you're not too far from Boston. You could make that commute work if you work in the Boston area, if you don't mind that commute and getting into that traffic Monday through Friday. Another pro is, this is especially helpful if you have a family, young family. A lot of residents say the school system is good. And I think niche.com actually had the school system ranked as an A-. So that's a positive for many, many families out there. School system highly rated. The third pro is there's a mix of country and city living. So residents love the scenery of Holden. They love the access to nature, even though it's a town outside of Worcester or on the border of Worcester. So you get a mix. So downtown Holden, the center of Holden, you have obviously all the businesses, the restaurants, etc. So those houses near that side of Holden, near the center of Holden, it's going to be more congested, more activities going on, and just more busy. So some people prefer that lifestyle, but Holden also has those neighborhoods that are on the outskirts, even just a couple minutes away from center of Holden, that are a lot quieter, have nice homes, quiet neighborhoods. So you get that mix. And also Holden being on the quieter side compared to Worcester, you get that city life right next door to Worcester. You're 10, 15, 20 minutes from Worcester. You got Shrewsbury Street in Worcester. You have everything in downtown Worcester. A lot of people love that convenience and access to Worcester, but they also love the country living aspect of Holden, even though it's a town with a population of 21,000 people living there. So it's a good balance for many people. If you want the more city living lifestyle, Holden can offer that. And you also have the Worcester city living. Or if you want the country living aspect of Holden, but with all the convenience and amenities that Holden and Worcester provide, it can accomplish that for you as well. Okay, so that does it for the pros. Now let's get into the cons. So cons, according to residents, minimal attractions and community gatherings. So people mentioned there's like an annual town fair and the occasional fall fair, which they don't state any other community events that they think that's lacking. Some people don't mind that. Some people don't really care for community events, and other people do care for community events because they get to go meet their fellow neighbors. I guess that could be a pro for some people and a con for other people. And minimal nightlife. Yeah, some people, believe it or not, they enjoy nightlife. They like going to the bars at 1 a.m. and things of that nature. So Holden itself, from the sounds of it, it does close down early. Someone said the streets are pretty quiet at around 10 p.m. on any given night. So some people might like that. So some of these cons that you're listening to right now might be pros for you. Everyone's going to be different. Everyone has their own opinion on what they like and don't like. If you want to have nightlife, you got to go to Worcester, which I guess isn't too bad because it's right next door. The other con was expensive real estate. People complained about high taxes, complained about home prices. So if you're a first-time buyer, it could be difficult to buy a home in Holden. I guess it depends on your income and other various factors, but never say never. So I'm going to show on the screen shortly. It's just going to pop up with a screenshot of the Holden market review as of October 2nd. Listing units are actually down this year to 16 on this day compared to 26 on October 2nd in 2024. So it's very much a seller's market in Holden right now. Like there's 1 month of inventory in Holden. That's the definition of a seller's market. Home sales are actually up this year from 124 to 146. Average days on market's up 4 days. Average days to offer is up 2 days. Average sale price has increased 3.35% to $619,000 for single family homes. The average sale price as percent of list price is actually down this year. So homes are selling for less above list price than they were this time last year. So they're at 1.22% over list price this year. Out of the 146 sales, inventories increased the last 12 months from 208 to 237 overall. More prices of homes being changed. So yeah, Holden is more on the pricey side compared to some towns we've talked about, but it's cheaper than Greater Boston. And residents did complain about taxes, like I mentioned. So as of the fiscal year 2024, residential tax rate was $13.38 per $1,000 of assessed value. The median property tax bill in the same fiscal year 2024 was roughly $6,000 compared to $7,400 for the Massachusetts average. So yeah, like I said, everyone's going to have different pros and cons, but that's just what multiple residents said. So expensive real estate, we just talked about the average sale price. We talked about taxes in Holden. And then we're going to wrap up with the last con, which is traffic and road issues. I will say this, yes, Holden does have a lot of traffic. If you're going certain times of day, for obvious reasons, you're going to run into more traffic because you have the access to Worcester. And Holden is a major route for many people that work in Worcester or work off the highways that go through Worcester, 190, 395. So you will run into traffic, and it could be frustrating. A lot of residents complained about the constant construction and road closures and detours that are always happening. The center of Holden was kind of a pain this year. They were redoing the roads and stuff, so that was something that they were doing in 2025. Your residents complained about always digging up the roads. That was quote like word for word what someone said. But it seems like that's wrapping up, at least in the center of Holden. But center of Holden, the newer roads, it looks good, but the traffic's still there, obviously. Yeah, I mean, just the constant roads being under construction. I guess that's a pro and a con. Yes, it sucks in the moment when they're actually working on the road because it's an inconvenience for residents and people that travel through Holden to get to other places. But when it's all said and done, people are more thankful because the road is improved compared to where it was prior, where it wasn't in as good of shape. So, I mean, pros and cons is tough to do because some of these pros might be cons for other people and some of these cons might be pros for other people. But this is what the majority of people that I saw, their pros and cons were. So yeah, you be the judge of this and take it as you will. So to review very quickly, the pros I mentioned were easy access and convenient to Worcester, plus a lot of the essentials are already in Holden. Residents say the school system's good. Mix of country and city living. Cons, minimal attractions and community gatherings. Minimal nightlife is also a part of that one. Expensive real estate, higher home prices, and higher taxes, according to residents. Traffic and road issues, constant construction, road closures, detours, etc. So those are three pros and 3 cons of living in Holden, Massachusetts. I'm curious to know the people that do live in Holden, have lived in Holden for a year, have lived in Holden for 30 years. What are your pros and cons of living in the town? This could be helpful for people that are thinking of making the move to this town from other states, from other towns in Massachusetts. Let me know in the comments. And for those of you relocating to Massachusetts and potentially Holden, I hope this was helpful to you to understand the town a little bit better. But without further ado, I appreciate you tuning in. I do have some links in the description of a seller guide and a buyer guide that is helpful. The buyer guide is 7 things real estate agents fail to tell you, something along those lines. And the seller guide talks about best practices when selling your home. So those are helpful. Click the links and it'll get sent to your email inbox. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I will see you on the next one.